President, please be seated. The court is now in session. This afternoon, the chamber will start to hear a witness through TCW 1012 via video link from Odor Mienjay province. Before we proceed to hear this witness, the chamber wishes to inform all parties to the proceedings that this afternoon and perhaps tomorrow and the following days, Judge Yuatra has personal duties, has his personal duties to perform. So the chamber has decided to appoint Judge Tumani in his replacement until Judge Yuatra is able to be on the bench. This decision is based on Internal Rule 79.4 of the ECCC. Good afternoon, Mr. Nham Som Nang. Is the video and audio system ready? Nham Som Nang. The system is ready. And here, the witness and the duty counsel Mueang Sawan are now before the chamber and they are ready. President, thank you, Mr. Som Nang. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. The interpreter could not hear the answer from the witness. President, are you ready, Mr. Witness? Witness, yes, I'm ready, Mr. President. President, thank you. Now I am asking about your background and identity. You were once questioned by the chamber, but it happened a long time ago. And now, what is your name, Mr. Witness? Answer, my name is Sao Sarun. President, thank you, Mr. Sao Sarun. Do you have any other names besides Sao Sarun? Witness, no. Question, when were you born, Mr. Sao Sarun? Answer, no. I do not recall when I was born. President, how old are you this year? Answer, I may be 90-something, 91 or 92 years old. Question, what is your birthplace, Mr. Sao Sarun? Answer, I was born in Kohmayel village, PMG Miet commune, Koh district, Mandalkiri province. President, thank you, Mr. Sao Sarun. Please give a little bit pause before you answer so that your answer can be interpreted fully. Question, where are you living now? I am living in Tnol Kai Pao commune, Trapiang Prasad district, Odor Mienjay province. Question, what is your current occupation? Are you a retired civil servant? Answer, I am retired, Mr. President. Question, what are your parents' names? Answer, my father's name is Sao Nu and my mother's name is Prong, rather. Question, what is your wife's name and how many children do you have? I have altogether 10 children. President, what is your wife's name? Answer, my wife's name is Thok Yun. President, Mr. Sao Sarun, based on the report of the greffier this morning, you have no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, Nuon Chien Kyo Sompon, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. Is this report correct? Answer. It is correct, Mr. President. I have no relationship by blood or by law to any of them. President, you have already taken an oath before the deity and the spirits already before you sitting here before the chamber. Is that correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. President, I am now inform you of your rights and obligation as a witness. As a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, Mr. Sao Sarun. Again, in relation to your rights, as a witness, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comments which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. Your obligations. As a witness in the proceedings before the chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comments to those questions may incriminate you, as the chamber has just informed you of your rights as a witness. You are a witness, so you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Do you understand your rights and obligations, Mr. Witness? Witness, I do not really understand it, Mr. President. President, I am informing you of your rights. You have the right not to respond to any question which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. As for your obligations, you must answer the questions that put to you, except where your response or comments to those questions may incriminate you. For that reason, you may say you don't want to answer. And the West has provided you with a duty counsel so that you can consult with him in case that there are possible questions which may incriminate you. And as I told you, you must answer the question that put to you by the bench or party. In addition to that, you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Do you understand that, Mr. Witness? Answer, yes, I understand it. I will tell only the truth, what I have seen. Besides that, I will not give any responses. So in the same case, when I answered the questions of the OCIJ, President, thank you very much, Mr. Sao Saurun. Have you ever provided testimonies before the investigators of the OCIJ? Answer: I gave my statement once at my house and on another occasion before the chamber. President, before your appearance in front of the chamber, have you read and reviewed the written records of the interviews that you have provided previously? Answer: I cannot recall whether the statements are consistent with what I have told the investigator, but I stand by what is in the document. My memory is not well, so I may have forgotten facts. President, thank you. You are assisted by a UT counsel after you requested the UT counsel to the vessel. And Mr. Mung Somat, may I inform you that if there are questions which may incriminate the witness, you as the UT counsel can discuss with your witness in a confidential manner. You please do not discuss with your client openly during the time that the mic is on. So please be clear on your duties as counsel to assist the witness. In accordance with Rule 91 base of the ECC internal rules, the floor is given first to the co-prosecutors before other parties. The combined time for co-prosecutors and lead co-lawyers for civil parties is 2 sessions. You now proceed. You can now proceed, counsel.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sao Saroon. Thank you for appearing. I would like to inform you that we have the record of your prior testimony from 2012. We all have the written transcripts and the videos. I will try not to repeat the same questions, but will seek clarification from you about other facts. Do you understand?
I do not really get your question.
That was just an introduction. I'll go right into my questions. Sir, you told us that you were born in Mondulkiri. Did you continue to live in Mondulkiri until the fall of the DK regime and the arrival of the Vietnamese?
Answer: that is correct. I remained living in Mondulkiri until the invasion of the Vietnamese.
Thank you. So perhaps, sir, you could help us a bit with some basic facts about Mondulkiri. Is it correct, sir, that the majority of the population are not Khmer, or they are Khmer Lu? They speak a different language and are tribal minorities.
Answer: in the entire Mondulkiri, mostly they were a tribal minority, and most of them were Phnom. ethnicity.
Thank you. And is it correct the Penong live on both sides of the border? They live in Cambodia, Vietnam, perhaps Laos. Can you explain where the Penong live?
Answer. They were living in the entire Mondulkiri province.
Did Penong also live in Vietnam?
Answer. Yes, there were Phnom in Vietnam.
Sir, in 1968, did you go to the forest and join a armed group?
Answer. Yes, I did join the group in the forest to participate in the resistance to fight against the imperialists, the U.S. imperialists.
Okay, can you explain in 1968, when you were fighting against the U.S. imperialists, what group were you a member of? What was the name of your group?
Answer. At the time, in 1970, I joined the Khmer Rouge to fight American imperialists.
Okay, thank you. But is it correct that you joined in 1968, the Khmer Rouge?
Answer. That is correct.
And who were you fighting against in 1968? Did your opponents include the Sihanouk government of Cambodia?
Answer. Upon the appeal of the late King Sihanouk, I joined the group to fight against the American imperialists. I joined together with other minorities to fight against the invaders of Cambodia.
Sir, let me read something to you from your first interview with the co-investigating judges. That's E3367. In Khmer, the ERN is 00251436. In French, 00486009. And in English, 00278693. You told the investigating judges in your first interview that in 1968, the villagers from two villages, Ko Mayul and Piem Chamiet, entered into the forest for resistance. At that time, my immediate commander was Liang. Is that correct, what I just read, sir?
Answer. Lang was the supervisor and was the one who led the group to fight against the American imperialists in the forest.
Well, sir, in 1968, this was before the Lon Nol coup, 2 years before, correct?
Witness, I could not hear your question well. Could you repeat it?
Yes, I will. And Your Honor, could I request that the video link show the witness after I ask my question so we see what's going on while it's being translated? Sir, this is my question. Actually, I'm going to ask you another question. Liang, did he become a member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Cambodia?
Answer. To my knowledge, he was the member of that committee.
Did he become the sector secretary for Sector 105 in the DK regime?
Answer, that is correct.
Sir, did you join the Communist Party of Kampuchea, and when did you join?
From 1968.
Okay,
President, International Co-Prosecutor, do you see the witness on your screen?
sorry. I'm seeing him, but it seems like the picture shows him after he's finished the answer. I'm not seeing him while he's hearing the question and while he begins his answer. So I would ask that after I finish my question in English, if the camera could shift to the witness, please.
President, every technician, please arrange the system in accordance with the request of the International Co-Prosecutor, and this also applies to the time when other parties are questioning the witness. So please show the video of witness while he is answering, and after the question of the International Co-Prosecutor. And there seems to be the discussion after the question by the International Co-Prosecutor. Once again, I would like to remind the witness and other who are sitting close to witness, you cannot discuss at your location unless there are possible questions which may incriminate the witness. This interferes the proceedings of the chamber. If you are continuing to discuss with the witness, you can resume your questioning, co-prosecutor.
Sir, when did you first meet Pol Pot?
Answer: I cannot recall when I met Pol Pot. It happened a long time ago.
Do you recall where it was that you met him?
Answer: I met him in Phnom Penh.
Did either Pol Pot or Nun Chia or Q Sampan ever visit Mondulkiri when you were in Mondulkiri?
Answer: I never saw them in the province.
Okay, I want to move to a meeting that you've discussed with OCIJ and in your testimony. You told the investigators and you testified that in 1972 you attended a meeting in Kampong Tom and Nun Chia was a presenter. Do you recall what Nun Chia spoke about?
Answer: the content of his speech was to mobilize forces to fight against the U.S. and to build the economy.
Okay, I'd like to ask you about the answer you gave to OCIJ about that. And this is in Khmer. This again, the same statement, E3 367. In Khmer, the ERN is 00251437. In French, 00486010. And in English, 00278694. You said that at that meeting where Pol Pot and Q Sampan were also present, you said, quote, Nun Chia was the presenter for political session on fighting against the American emperor, national liberation, and the eradication of oppressive classes. So the question I have for you, sir, is to explain the word you used. You said Nun Chia talked about the eradication of oppressive classes. Who were the oppressive classes?
I think
the oppressive classes refer to the late king perhaps, and I do not really understand who they are referring to.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understood the interpreter. They said oppressive classes refer to the late king. I didn't understand the word. Can you repeat your answer? You said oppressive classes refer to perhaps what?
They refer to those who oppress the people. That the meaning of oppressive classes. Oppressive classes refer to those who were in leadership or who control the country.
And the country being Kampuchea, correct?
Yes.
Now, sir, you've testified that you held various positions during the Democratic Kampuchea regime, including district secretary and then sector secretary for Sector 105. Can you tell me, during that period of time, did you follow policies of your superiors, or were you allowed to make your own policies?
At that time, I was the chief of Pajandara district. That is when I was first appointed in 1971.
Sir, we know that, and you've also testified previously that after the death of a disappearance of of Liang, after the death of Liang, you became the sector secretary. So my question is, in those positions, district secretary, sector secretary, could you make up the policies, or were you required to follow the party's policies from the center?
No, I could not. The policies set out by the party center, and individual person could not make or create a policy.
Let me just ask you, during those times, those years, was it possible for you to object to a policy, to tell the center you don't think this is right, you think a different policy should exist?
At that time, whether a policy was good or not, we had to follow it. We could not refuse to implement the policy.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask you about one of those policies now, and that is the policy about marriage. Do you recall what the policy was during the DK regime about marriages?
I did not know well about such a policy. However, one or two couples were arranged to marry one another during that communist regime. And it would not be possible to marry those people according to the old tradition.
Perhaps it might refresh your recollection to hear what Nunchia has said about the policy. So I'd like to read to you from a document, a book that he wrote with Tet Sambat E3/4202. And in Khmer, this is at 00858253. In French, 00849377. And in English, 00757496.
Council Copper, you have the floor.
Just an observation in the form of a correction. It's a book written by Dina Chon and Tet Sambat, and it's not written by Nguyen Chia. He gave interviews to Tet Sambat and Lemkin, that is correct, but it's not his book.
Well, I don't want to argue about this. We think the evidence will show that he fully authorized this book. But, let's go on. Sir, in the book that Tet Sambat and Gina Chon wrote, they say the following about the marriage policy. Because they wanted to double the population, the Khmer Rouge wanted to increase the number of marriages. But because the war killed so many men, there were more women in society. The Khmer Rouge took matters into their own hands. And then they quote Nguyen Chia, quote, the man, Nunchia said, the man always wants to choose a beautiful girl. So that's why we forced them to get married. And Angkar chose the wife. They say Nunchia told them that. And then the authors go on to say young women were first forced to marry men who were twice their age and vice versa. The opinions of the prospective groom and bride did not matter. Marriage became government policy and an institution that served the revolutionary cause. Sir, in your experience, is this a correct statement of the marriage policy?
I object to this question, Mr. President.
តាក់ទៃបានតនឆ្លើយ
Witness, please hold on. And Council Copper, you have the floor.
Actually, my observation in the form of a correction now turns into an objection. The text is written by Gina Chon, mainly. That's about the interviews, but she was the one who was compiling certain texts together, heavily relying on secondary sources. I know exactly where the quote comes from. I also know it's out of context, but it doesn't matter. However, presenting this whole excerpt as something reflecting a policy that is completely incorrect, it reflects what Gina Chon believes the marriage policy to be. That is something completely different.
Your Honors, the book itself, and Nunchia in his own testimony said he authorized work with Tet Sambat on this book. I believe he even told the court he was wondering where the royalties were for the book. Tet Sambat and others have testified that they interviewed Nunchia for, I believe, hundreds of hours. And what I just read had a quote. The quotation marks start with, "The man always wants to choose a beautiful girl," and ended with Nunchia saying, "That's why we forced them to get married, and Angkar chose the wife," unquote. So I understand why there's the objection, because it's basically a confession to a forced marriage policy. But this is, in fact, a secondary source direct interview with Nunchia.
That's incorrect. That is really incorrect. That book came out in 2010, I believe. I'm quoting it by heart now. He was already detained for 3 years. He never authorized the final version. And if he would have been able to read it, he surely would never have authorized the parts that are clearly not his quotes. And I know for a fact that this quote is completely out of context.
I don't know if counsel was there to say that, but this is what's written in the book. The defense has relied on this book. They asked for the book to be admitted. We've asked for Tet Sambat to testify, and I think the defense has also. So I think it's absolutely as fair as any quote the defense or any party has put to a witness. This is a quote from Nunchia by his authorized biographer.
បាទករណី
President, the chamber overruled the objection by counsel for Anun Chia, as the chamber needs to hear the response of the witness to the question put to him by the international co-prosecutor. Since the witness is of senior age, that is around 92 years old, he may have forgotten the last question put to him. So, international co-prosecutor, you may need to put the last question to him again.
Certainly. Sir, the book quotes Nunchia as saying, "The man always wants to choose a beautiful girl. So that's why we forced them to get married, and Angkar chose the wife." Is that correct as to the policy of the center of the Khmer Rouge, as from what you learned during the DK regime? Sir, we're waiting for your answer. I'll repeat the question one more time. The question was, when Nunchia said this, was it correct? He said about the marriage policy, quote, "The man always wants to choose a beautiful girl, so that's why we forced them to get married, and Angkar chose the wife." Is that correct, sir?
President, witness, if you cannot hear the question, you should ask the question to be repeated, and there is no need for you to consult with your duty counsel, since it is not an incriminating question, and duty counsel, you should advise your client that your client should consult with you only on those questions that may incriminate him. And if there is a case, then he can consult with you. But if the witness cannot hear the question, then you should say so that the question can be repeated again. And international co-prosecutor, please try to make your questions short, since this witness is very old. He is over 90 years old, so his memory and concentration is not that great. And it seems that he may have a problem with his memory as well from his appearance. International co-prosecutor, please repeat your last question.
Sir, I read you a quote from Nunchia that said that Angkar would force men to get married and choose the wife. Is that correct? Is that what happened?
I didn't understand much about that policy. As I said, I saw a couple of people at a time got married.
Were you informed at study sessions or in written documents or in meetings that Angkar wanted to increase the population?
Yes, I heard about that. That they wanted to increase the population, since the population at that time was rather small. For that reason, the youth were encouraged to marry.
Okay, I'm going to move on to another subject. Sir, on the 5th of June 2012, you testified that Sector 105 was referred to as an independent sector. Is that correct?
បាទត្រឹមត្រូវ
Yes, that is correct.
So it's correct, isn't it, that the sector reported directly to the center, not through a zone. Is that correct?
បាទ
Yes, that is correct.
Now, sir, there's a document E3/12 dated the 30th of March 1976. It's a decision of the Central Committee regarding a number of matters. And the first point is the right to smash inside and outside the ranks. It states, 1, that there is a framework in absolute implementation of our revolution. 2, to strengthen our socialist democracy. All this to strengthen our state authority, if in the base framework to be decided by the Zone Standing Committee, surrounding the Center Office to be decided by the Central Office Committee. And then it says independent sectors to be decided by the Standing Committee. So let me summarize it a little bit, make it a bit simpler. It's a decision of the Central Committee of 30th of March 1976, and it says regarding the right to smash inside and outside the ranks, that this would be for independent sectors decided by the Standing Committee. Is that correct, based upon what you learned as a district and sector secretary, that regarding matters of smashing inside or outside the ranks, the sectors, Sector 105 as an independent sector, had to go abide by the decision of the Standing Committee? Is that what happened?
បាទ
On this matter, at the beginning, I did not understand well about this process at Sector 105 when I was at the district committee.
Well, sir, let me quote something else that you said in your testimony from 2012. This is on the 7th of June at about 9:27 in the morning. You were being questioned about Chuan being called for re-education in Phnom Penh and the fact that he entered S21 in November 1977. You were asked about, there was questions about who ordered the arrest. And this is how you answered. You said, I did not understand the situation. People disappeared and everybody was afraid. Was that the situation when you were in charge of the sector, that people disappeared and everybody was afraid?
បាទ
Yes, that what happened at the time. Everybody was scared when he was called to Phnom Penh, because when a person went to Phnom Penh, the person never returned. And that also happens to my younger-in-law, who was called and never returned.
Are you referring now to Sophia, or who are you talking about?
It's like Sophia ហ្នឹង
My younger-in-law was sent, and as for those who work in military affairs were allowed to continue, and my younger brother-in-law never returned.
Just so I'm clear who you're talking about, what is the name of your younger brother-in-law?
Sophia
Yes, that is Sophia.
And sir, you also talked in your testimony the 6th of June at 1433 about the disappearance of Mala. You also talked about the disappearance of Chun. Do you know who ordered these disappearances, or who ordered these people to be sent away?
The order must come from Pol Pot, as those people were accused of betraying.
Now, did the orders come by a telephone call, by a messenger, or by telegram? Can you explain how the orders that called people to study were delivered?
Mostly the orders came through telegrams for those people to go and attend the study sessions, and the names were mentioned.
You previously testified that Nunchia sent telegrams calling people to study. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, those people that Nunchia called to study, did some of them disappear?
Only my younger brother-in-law disappeared, as the rest they did not.
Well, sir, we have, to summarize briefly, records of hundreds of individuals from Sector 105 appearing in S21. Do you know how they were brought to S21? Who ordered them taken there?
I didn't understand about that. I didn't know how Lang did that, since I was at Pachanda district at the time.
Well, let's clarify one thing very quickly. You've testified previously that after Niang's death, Chun contacted you and you went to Phnom Penh within days. And in Phnom Penh, Pol Pot appointed you to the sector. Is that correct?
Yes, when Lang died, Chun came to the district to call me, but he actually did not go through my house. It seems that he was scared, and he whispered to me that Lang had died, and I asked for the reason, and he said that Kampoon beat him. And that happened at a guest house in Phnom Penh, and that they slept on a separate bed, and somehow they fought, and Lang died. And that Lang had a pistol.
That Thank you. You explained that 4 years ago in 2012, so I don't want to go over it again. But I just wanted to make the point quickly with you that since Chun was the one who went with you to Phnom Penh, and Chun went into S-21 in November 1977. You were appointed by Pol Pot in late 1977 to replace Liang, correct? Liang, correct?
But
Yes. When Talang died, then there was an appointment by Pol Pot, and then there was a conference in 1978 when the majority approved that I should be appointed the chief, and I was in that position for 2 months.
Okay, thank you. We're going to come back to some of this. So, sir, when you replaced Liang working in the sector office in late 1977, during the time that you were district secretary, did you ever see any trials or court proceedings for these people that disappeared never to return?
No, I did not hear about any judgment that somebody was accused of this or that. No, there was no such a system. What I saw is that people were called for study sessions and disappeared without any reasons provided.
Knowledge, were there any courts, any judicial proceedings for anyone accused of wrongdoing during the DK regime?
Answer: I do not know what kind of mistakes they committed and what offenses they were accused of. After they were called, they disappeared. I do not know what kind of mistakes, infraction, or offenses they committed.
When people disappeared, did their families also disappear?
Answer: no.
Mr. Witness, let me read to you from a statement of the son of Liang, Kampan. And this is E357. At English, it is 002905. Well, let me summarize it this way. This was read to you during your testimony by Nunchia's counsel at 14:35 on the last day of your testimony, the 12th of June. And he read to you from this document E357, where Liang's son said, during the Tasaroon era, the arrests of the whole families were made, but I don't know where those families were taken to be killed. And sir, frankly, we've had other witnesses that have testified here that talk about, including this morning and yesterday, talk about wives and children being arrested. Were wives and children arrested?
I object to this selective use of evidence, Mr. President. Taval was arrested, but his wife wasn't arrested. The husband of Prakyut was arrested, but Prakyut wasn't arrested. We contend that it had something to do with the role of the wife as a cadre itself. Wives were not arrested simply because they were wives. So there's other evidence to suggest the opposite.
I should have been clear. I'm talking about the evidence about Sector 105, where this witness was responsible. And sir, the evidence we have on that is that wives were arrested, children were arrested. Chan Tui, for example, Net Savat testified, both of them, that there were children arrested along with them. Isn't that correct, that children were arrested when a cadre was arrested?
but now
Answer: it did not happen at Sector 105. When the husband was arrested, the wife was never arrested. That was what happening when Lang was the chief of the sector. I did not side with anyone, but it did not happen in Sector 105. I do not know whether such implementation happened in other provinces, but in Mondulkiri, no such thing occurred.
Sir, let me read from a statement of another witness, and this is a DC CAM interview at E3/8651. In English, it's 01156504. And in Khmer, it's 000-42269. Before I read that, let me just ask you, sir, when is the last time you returned to Mondulkiri, the place where you grew up?
and
Could you repeat your question?
When was the last time you went to Mondulkiri?
He would come back to Mondulkiri after a few days of his duty he performs in other locations.
Let me try my question again. I'm asking about you, sir. I'm asking you, when was the last time that you went to Mondulkiri? Was it last month? Last year? Was it 1979? When was the last time you were in Mondulkiri?
President, Mr. Sausarun, now I am repeating the question. You left Mondulkiri province already, and the question is when you lastly visited Mondulkiri after your departure. Have you visited Mondulkiri province recently, and what was the last time you visited that province? Answer: after I came to Thailand. After I came back from Thailand, that's what you meant? In fact, I cannot recall when I lastly visited Mondulkiri province. I do not remember it. I visited the Mondulkiri province 2 or 3 times.
Thank you, sir. Perhaps there may be an explanation why you don't remember from this statement where the witness said about you, South Saroon, he does not dare to go to Mondulkiri because his hands are stained with the blood of many people. Do you have any explanation of why people in Mondulkiri would think that so many people died when you were in charge of the sector?
President, do not respond to the question yet, South Sarun. You have the floor first on Daguise.
Oui, je voudrais simplement avoir.
Yes.
May I request the co-prosecutor to give us the reference and also give us the name of the person who says that of the witness. Perhaps it will enable us to react in more concrete terms, or enable the witness to react in more concrete terms.
I'll look up the name. It's not in my notes, and I also would just indicate that there's no French translation yet of this OCIJ, of DC Chem interview, 8651, E3/8651. The name of the witness was Solra, S-O-L, S-O-V, excuse me, S-O-V, excuse me, spelling it again, S-A-L, one word, R-A, second word. Sir, do you have any explanation why people from Mondulkiri would think that so many people died during the time when you were the sector secretary?
Answer. That is not true. The one who made the report overstated. I went to Mondulkiri province a few times. The first time I stayed there for 3 months, and I stayed in the provincial town location for 1 week. The governor of Mondulkiri and the commander of soldiers celebrated and threw a party when I was there. I often visited Mondulkiri. My hand was not, I was not the one who killed people. Killings did happen in Pol Pot's time. Individuals would accuse one another and kill one another. That report has a good intention. The one who made the report has no good intention. And they wanted to kill Khmer people by saying that in the report. President, please stop, elaborate that point. Witness, interrupted by President. Witness, they overstated. They wanted to exterminate their own people, so the report is not correct. So the court can make analysis on this issue. I often visited Mondulkiri province, and I spent 1 week in the provincial town of Mondulkiri, and I stayed at my birth district for 3 months. President interrupts. Please remit your response to the question asked and put to you, Windes.
Sir, I'm happy that your memory has been refreshed so quickly. Let me ask you then about your answer. You said they wanted to kill their own people. Who was it that wanted to kill their own people?
My point is that the one who made such a report wanted to kill their own people. They want to be famous. So it is not proper to report such things that my hands was with blood and I was the one who killed people. I went to Mondulkiri and spent time there for 3 months in my birth district, and I spent 1 week in the provincial town of Mondulkiri. Nothing happens to me. They may hated me. I went to Oral to join the wedding party. And they I spent time there in the wedding, and they celebrated. They were happy when they saw me at the time. President interrupts. So please limit your response to the question. South Sudan interrupted by President. Witness, I dare to go back to my province, Mondulkiri, President. That's enough, Mr. South Sudan. It is now break time. The chamber will take a short break, and we will resume at 3 p.m. Mr. Sausarun and Mr. Somnang, together with the Duty Council, we are now taking a short break up to 3 p.m. So please come back to your seats before 3 p.m. The court is now in recess.